And welcome back, everybody, to the 2017 Pokemon Video Game Regional Championships here in Salt Lake City, Utah. My name is Duiha, and joining me at the desk, of course, Len Duel, and we are ready.
Yeah.
What time is it, Len?
It's game time.
Well, I was
Finals
thinking
time?
more finals time, yeah.
All right.
It's been game time for the past couple hours now, so it's finals time. We're down to our final two players. Over 100 players signed up to vie for the title of Salt Lake City Regional Champion of Pokemon Video Game. You know, the defending regional champion, Riley Factura, was eliminated in the top 8 just a couple hours ago. So we're going to crown a new champion. And between those two players, it can either be Kyle Hudson or Preston Clark. Kyle, hailing from Southern California, your neighborhood.
Yep.
And Preston Clark, hailing from Utah, your former neighborhood.
Yeah.
You have a lot of connections right now to these players, probably. They like Pokemon. They're from your areas. All right, we're ready to go. Gonna throw it to team preview right now. Let's go. Kyle going to be running Celesteela, Gyarados, Marowak, Tapu Koko, Alolan Marowak, and Gastrodon. Preston going with Double Duck, Kartana, Snorlax, Tapu Lele, and Arcanine. So they're actually already ready to go into battle. Wow.
That was quick. Maybe both players had time to think through what they were going to bring.
Yeah. The key Pokemon is going to be Preston bringing that Kartana to deal with the Gastrodon on Kyle's side to prevent his Double Ducks from getting too messed around with.
I think another key Pokemon could be Snorlax, because I think it offers a win condition other than the Double Ducks, which can have trouble both because of Ninetales and because of Gastrodon.
Yep. No Weather War just yet. Celesteela and Tapu Koko are the leads that Kyle actually opts for. Tapu Lele and Pelipper are actually the leads that Preston opts for. So bringing out the rain. And, all right, let's get this underway. The finals here of the Salt Lake City Regional Championships. Winner takes home $1,000 in cash.
Yeah, from first glance, obviously a big advantage for Kyle. He can Volt Switch or Thunderbolt this Pelipper and Heavy Slam this Tapu Lele. It could be a lot of damage from that, what we've seen as a choice specs Tapu Lele, along with some damage from Pelipper, but clearly two big attacks available here.
Yep, Tapu Koko now going for the Volt Switch here, going to try to pick up some momentum after hitting that Tapu Lele for about 30% damage. Unfortunate for Kyle that the Electric Trainer was not up, not going to get that electric boost that Tapu Koko really enjoys. Ninetales is going to come in, going to reset the weather. If Pelipper went for a Hurricane, that will possibly miss.
It's interesting that Volt Switch didn't land onto Pelipper. Along with the hail damage, it would have been a KO. Would have allowed Pelipper still to attack this turn, but would have been very useful to...
Oh, wow! Tapu Lele going for a Thunderbolt onto that Celesteela, almost picking up the KO, and Pelipper actually gets to set up the tail in this turn. Oh, sorry, the turn's not even over. Celesteela gets to move, of course. Celesteela goes for the Heavy Slam, going to connect onto Tapu Lele and picks up the KO, so now we understand why. Just picking up the KO on that Tapu Lele.
Well, it should have been the KO whether Volt Switch happened or not.
The Heavy Slam would have KO'd it anyways?
Yeah, I believe so. And Tapu Lele elects to stay in and make that trade of a very powerful Thunderbolt, but in exchange for Tapu Lele. And that's a pretty expensive cost. Celesteela capable of recovering back out of this with Leech Seed. Probably at too low of a health now, especially with the tailwind pressure from the other side, keeping like Ninetales from stopping some of this offense.
Yep, Arcanine switches in, going to go for the Intimidate onto the Celesteela, and also exert a lot of pressure on that Ninetales. Ninetales isn't going to enjoy facing off against it at all, but the Aurora Veil is an option to kind of boost your team's defenses.
Yeah, Aurora Veil is an option if you get it off. I mean,
yeah, that's right.
It's possible that with Tailwind up, Ninetales takes 2 hits before even moving. I would expect at least 1 hit to go towards Celesteela just to keep it from getting a Leech Seed off, maybe getting itself out of the hole of such low HP that it's at right now. Because of his own Ninetales, Leftovers alone isn't ever even going to contribute until that hail damage is finished, and so you need a Leech Seed to try to dig out of that.
Yeah, that Pelipper, of course, exerting a lot of pressure thanks to that Tailwind. Pelipper. This Pelipper is actually really offensive. It picked up so many KOs that we've seen so far. The Flare Blitz connects onto that Ninetales, bringing it down to Focus Sash, doing a lot of recoil damage back to itself, and Pelipper goes for a Scald here. Is it going to target down the Ninetales? Yes, it is. And no hit onto that Celesteela. Celesteela now can't go for a Leech Seed. Not really an opportune time for Celesteela to go on the offensive. Going to seed this Arcanine, but Arcanine does not mind switching in and out because of the fact that it can recycle its Intimidates.
Right. But maybe a little bit more useful chip damage, and that contributed. Pelipper wouldn't mind switching in and out either to reset the weather, especially if Golduck is in the back somewhere that we haven't seen. And so either one wouldn't have minded switching too much. Mainly this is about the recovery from Bleach Seed.
Which Pokemon has... Arcanine has more hit points, right? So you do heal a little bit more?
You heal a little bit more also.
All right, so now Kyle has to choose who to send back in.
Yeah, too much tailwind left, I think, for Tapu Koko to come back in. Not bulky enough to deal with these Flare Blitz from Arcanine without some type of Intimidate support. And so yeah, Gastrodon comes in.
Yep, Gastrodon is a pretty good switch. Pelipper, I guess, can throw Hurricanes at it, but Gastrodon has a high special defense stat.
Hurricanes, but without rain. So
yeah, it's risking not hitting.
And we also saw the Moringa, I believe, earlier.
Yep, it's
and
Moringa Berry.
I'm not sure if Preston knows that, but he could be walking into making this Gastrodon even more difficult to knock out. Celesteela probably can protect this turn, get the most out of that. Leech Seed, wouldn't be surprised if that means Arcanine leaves, especially under threat from Scald and without the option to do much to Gastrodon.
Pelipper now switching out, going to send in Snorlax. Going to try to deal with this Gastrodon just a little bit better than that Pelipper would. Arcanine going for the Flare Blitz, going to hit the Celesteela. No protect from that Celesteela.
Wow. So yeah, neither Arcanine switches or Celesteela protects, and so Arcanine manages to pick up this really important KO in Celesteela. That's one of the things in the way of the Snorlax being able to do a lot of damage.
And Gastrodon gets to go for the Scald here, going to hit this Arcanine. It's enough to pick up the KO. Okay, no special attack boost just yet. Yeah.
We also have now seen all 4 Pokemon from Preston, so we can tell that he did opt for Snorlax over Golduck, decided that it was going to be too hard to win the game using the traditional double ducks because of the Gastrodon and Ninetales, and so Snorlax offered him a different take, a different look at the game.
Yeah, you don't want to get walled by that Gastrodon. Pelipper now coming in, going to bring the rain, as Tapu Koko actually comes in and sets the electric train. So Tapu Koko is actually operating in the board position is really favoring Kyle. In terms of Tapu Koko beating Pelipper, Snorlax versus Tapu Koko and Gastrodon, I don't know. It could be pretty close.
Yeah, I think it will be very close. It'll depend on what the Snorlax moveset is and how it handles this game. If it has something like high horsepower and can pick up the KO on Tapu Koko while Pelipper protects itself from Tapu Koko, could buy himself some extra damage on Gastrodon from Pelipper. If it has Recycle and can outlast whatever damage Tapu Koko and Gastrodon can do, maybe boosting up with Curse or Stockpile or Belly Drum, something to then outdamage them. So yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see what the Snorlax can do.
Yeah, Tapu Koko protects, going to stall out the Tailwind. I'm not going to want to get hit with a Scald or anything, really. No point in playing risky like that. Gastrodon going to take that and activate the Moringa Berry, going to boost its special defense by 1 stage. And Snorlax goes straight for the frustration, hitting this Gastrodon right now, trying to get it off the field, and Gastrodon hangs on. Gastrodon goes for a Scald, gonna target down the Snorlax here. Does it get a burn? No burn, as the Tailwind peters out. So Gastrodon is threatening to be KO'd right now.
Yeah, really good turn from Preston, getting all that damage onto Gastrodon, really preventing it from being much of a factor in the rest of this game. Even if you exchange Tapu Koko KOs Pelipper, Gastrodon damages Snorlax, and Snorlax KOs Gastrodon, I'm not sure that Tapu Koko would be able to finish that game.
Yep, Tapu Koko now gets to pick up the KO on the Pelipper, so Kyle kind of evening the score a little bit more. Yeah, it's going to be 2-1, as Gastrodon uses his turn to go for a recover here, so Gastrodon not out of the fight just yet. The Moringa Bear is not going to matter right here at all. Snorlax going for the high horsepower here, hitting this Tapu Koko, doing a good amount of damage, and even straight up picks up the KO, so now it's going to be Gastrodon versus the Snorlax.
Yeah, and so we did reveal the high horsepower, see that it has the option to KO Tapu Koko. That was one of the key pieces Snorlax needed to be able to win this game. The next probably is some recovery. It's going to need to boost its attack in some way to outdamage that recover from Gastrodon. It's going to need its own recover to have the time to do that. Yep,
Gastrodon now goes for his Scald, going to bring Snorlax down into Berry range. Ooh, critical hit right there. Big critical hit that activates the Berry. This is going to eat and heal back up. Snorlax goes for the frustration here. Going to hit this Gastrodon. Going to do a decent amount of damage, bringing Gastrodon down to a point where it's going to be stuck having to recover nonstop.
Yeah, one good option here is to do that until the rain expires. Then you're way less threatened by those Scalds, and you do maybe have more time to go for something like a Curse after getting rid of rain.
Ooh, Snorlax using this turn to Curse here. Going to set up to just be able to pick up the one-hit KO on this Gastrodon in just a couple more turns.
Yeah. We don't see if it has recovery yet. They're going to take a Scald this turn. If it gets burnt, this is going to start looking a lot worse. It's the 3rd Scald, so at this point...
Oh, Clear Smog. All right, cool. That's something that Preston should know, that you can't just try to set up on this Gastrodon, because this Gastrodon has something to stop and take away all those boosts and debuffs.
Yeah, I really don't like Clear Smog there, though.
Yeah.
I think you reveal it for no reason. You only are taking away one attack boost and losing an entire turn to do that, and that the turn is the last turn of rain, your last chance to use a rain-boosted Scald. I think that was not the time for Clear Smog at all.
Yeah, I think right now...
I think you could have easily baited another curse. One curse wasn't going to be enough to break through, and if you got a second curse while getting your last Scald boost, rain-boosted Scald, then Clear Smog would have been a much better
now
solution.
now there's no point for Preston to really go for Scald, or for curses. He knows he just needs to start hitting. Yeah.
Yeah, if the Snorlax doesn't have any recovery, then I think Snorlax or Gastrodon still has the game in hand, just because in a slow 1v1 like this, recovery beats no recovery every time.
Yep.
If it does have Recycle, not so much.
And yep, Scald brings Snorlax down to 50%, as Snorlax goes for a Frustration. We still don't see a Recycle. Maybe this means that this Snorlax does not have Recycle. You know, I feel like once you activate your berry in the situation, you always just want to have it back.
Yeah, you want to get it back as soon as you can. Maybe less true in a 1v1 like this. The damage output of Gastrodon is a lot more predictable.
Yeah, Gastrodon continuing to heal back up. These Frustrations are not doing as much damage, so actually somehow Gastrodon might be able to pull this one off.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we've seen so many Scalds now, the burn is more likely than not have burnt. And if it does get the burn, that'll be game over. You can out-heal the Frustration so significantly then.
Yeah, especially since now we know the Clear Smog is there. Maybe that Clear Smog was actually pretty clutch move.
Maybe. I think even with one curse, you're about even with the recovery. If it wouldn't have KO'd, and you could have started recovering. But yeah, maybe taking one Frustration, then you're never able to get out of the cycle the same way that you were when it's not boosted.
Yeah, this is a good turn right here to go for the Scald. If you can get the burn, that's even better for you, and that just seals the deal. Gastrodon does go for the Scald here. Kyle now fishing for a burn. That would be nice, but no burn right there. Snorlax now goes for another Frustration onto this Gastrodon.
Yeah, and I think that pretty much signals that there's no Recycle. That would have been the turn to use it. Now you're in range of a critical hit. Scald, there wouldn't be a reason to take that risk otherwise.
Yep, Gastrodon now going for a Recover. Gonna slowly get back to a point where it can safely, you know, it's trying to get back to a point where it can safely go for Scalds again, fish for a burn, or just straight up pick up the KO. Snorlax here using Curse, forcing Gastrodon to pretty much use Clear Smog.
But it will just Clear Smog,
yeah.
And you missed maybe an opportunity for a crit Frustration to open this game back up.
Alright, well the stat changes are now removed. Snorlax goes for another Frustration here. Gonna hit this Gastrodon. No critical hit there. Now it's just Recover. And rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gastrodon can stay pretty much healthy enough that one critical hit wouldn't be enough to end the game. I think force 2 consecutive ones to be the only out for Snorlax.
Yeah, I think one thing that Preston really was looking for in this matchup was just the fact that, you know, if it gets down to a 1v1 between Snorlax and Gastrodon, I could probably take it out, but then the Clear Smog really puts a dent in that plan. Yeah,
and his lack of recovery on his side.
That's actually really interesting Snorlax to me.
We haven't seen the fourth move on it yet. We've seen High Horsepower, Frustration, and Curse. So the fourth is either another coverage move, 3 attack Snorlax is a very rarity, maybe Protect. Another fairly uncommon move on Snorlax because the recovery and boosting is generally preferred. If you look at the Snorlax we saw from Patrick before, it had 2 boosting moves and a recovery move.
Oh, critical hit! Oh, critical hit! Gastrodon fainted.
Oh my!
Preston pulls this one off from that critical hit.
Just too many turns. Got the critical hit before the burn. The burn is so much more likely than the critical hit, and yet the critical hit is what came out first, and so that wins the game for Preston.
Wow. Oh, man. The critical hit, that one definitely mattered. I know that one for sure. I'm not even a commentator. But, oh, Preston. So, Kyle has to stay focused and remember that the key part of that game was Preston getting that critical hit.
Yeah.
Maybe make some more adjustments. Maybe get himself in a bit better position instead of just having that Gastrodon Snorlax one-on-one. Even though it should, in theory, favor the Gastrodon.
Yeah.
It didn't there. So
yeah. The Scald burn is what makes it favor the Gastrodon. Otherwise, you're pretty even. Eventually, one of the Pokemon will get a crit or run out of recovery PP or something else will happen. But the Scald Burn is what should open that up. For Gastrodon, it just never happened. And so Snorlax finally got their critical hit and won. And I think for Preston, Snorlax is going to continue to be very important in this game. It's maybe not as much of a win condition without a recovery move, but it was a win condition in that game. Managed to close out the game against a couple of threats with Tapu Koko and Gastrodon there.
Yep. All right. We are ready to get underway. Preston Clark is one win away from winning the Salt Lake City Regional Championships after stealing Game 1 right out from under the fingertips of Kyle Hudson's Gastrodon. Here we go. Game 2. You think it's going to come down to Snorlax versus Gastrodon again?
Maybe.
Yeah?
It's also a very different game from Kyle compared to a lot of the other ones we've seen. Not so much focus on Dragon Dance, not so much focus on Ninetales.
Yeah.
Wonder if that's something he's decided from the matchup, or Gyarados will play a more important role this game.
All right, Gyarados coming in, hitting the field here. Tapu Koko going to activate the Electric Surge, but of course Tapu Lele is just going to go ahead and change that anyways. Gyarados' Intimidate goes off first before the Arcanine Intimidate, so that's good information to know as well. This Gyarados is going to be faster than the Arcanine, and this Gyarados is also going to be faster than that Tapu Lele.
And the Arcanine is faster than Tapu Lele, so that is a very slow Tapu Lele.
Yeah, slow, bulky Tapu Lele. I'm pretty sure it's carrying a choice specs.
Yeah, I think we've seen that based on the damage it did
output
to Mandibuzz in a previous game.
So probably one of those, I remember Shoma was running a Tapu Lele's choice specs with bulk, so maybe something similar to that.
So I wonder if Marowak is even there to protect Gyarados in this game. Otherwise, Tapu Lele Thunderbolt is an easy way to pull Gyarados off the field, and Marowak doesn't have a great matchup against Double Duck, so I would be surprised if it actually is around.
Well, here we go. Tapu Koko going to Volt Switch out. This allows Kyle to switch in one Pokemon. If it's that Marowak, that will be very helpful. Nope, it's going to be the Celesteela. So now, hopefully that Gyarados targets down that Tapu Lele, or else that's going to be a KO'd Gyarados. Yep, Waterium Z. You think that's enough to KO the Tapu Lele?
I don't believe so. Based on how
Especially
slow
with
the Tapu
Intimidate.
Lele and with the Intimidate,
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be the KO, but it may be going towards Arcanine and not Tapu Lele, because Wild Charge is also an electric move that could be coming out to KO Gyarados this turn.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Hits the Arcanine here. Or maybe it comes down to the situation where maybe Kyle is not thinking that Preston would think that Kyle would allow Gyarados to be given up for free. You know what I'm saying? Oh,
Yeah.
right. Tapu Lele goes for a Psychic instead, hitting that Gyarados slot, maybe expecting... Oh, well, that
It's
just
also
KOs
the
anyways.
KO,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Such
if
power.
you'd lost terrain somehow, not really possible, Psychic Thunderbolt would have been more powerful. Here we see that being locked in a Thunderbolt would be kind of nice with Celesteela opposite you, but it's always good to have Psychic, especially with Electric
Yeah.
Terrain.
That would have been great.
Yeah,
right?
you probably would have won it KO'd that Celesteela.
So Tapu Koko brings that back the Electric Train. Going to be exerting a lot of pressure on this Pelipper with, you know, that 4 times weakness. And also doing a... I mean, it'll still do a good chunk to Tapu Lele.
So it's interesting to me, after this trade, one player had to use their Z move to get the trade, the other didn't, but Preston may not actually have a Z move. He didn't bring one last game. I think the only one he's got is on Golduck, and he didn't bring that. If he didn't bring it again, it's not really much lost in that trade to have had to use your Z move, and Preston didn't. And now Kyle's on a much better field position. Heavy Slam is threatening Celesteela that could probably get the KO on Tapu Koko, but Tapu Koko could easily Volt Switch out and mean you just wasted your Tapu Lele. Or Koko could go after Pelipper. We've seen all 4 moves over the course of this tournament. Pelipper does not have Protect. I don't think Kyle would know that, so he doesn't know that he can safely Volt Switch that slot.
Tapu Lele going to switch out, going to preserve that terrain for later on. Kartana going to come in, so no Snorlax for Preston, even though that was the clutch Pokemon getting that critical hit right when his trainer needed it. Oh, that does a lot of damage to Kartana straight up. Just one-hit KO thanks to that Electric Train, thanks to that Life Orb on that Tapu Koko. And now Pelipper gets 1 turn to set up, going for a Tailwind here. This allows Celesteela to possibly go for Leech Seeds here.
Yeah.
Or yeah, Leech Seeds. Oh, no, just going to go for Heavy Slam.
I think that Heavy Slam was probably
doubling.
targeted at this Tapu Lele slot, so right. The Kartana came in hoping to take the Heavy Slam, but by aiming the Thunderbolt and the Heavy Slam in that slot, there wasn't really much of a safe switch in. The closest thing would be Snorlax, and it still would have taken a lot from that pair of moves. Now Tapu Lele comes back in, gets the Psychic Terrain back, but is still threatened by that Heavy Slam, and the problem wasn't, the Tailwind doesn't help you stop the Heavy Slam. That wasn't the problem before. You just can't do enough damage to outdo it. Maybe Scald plus Thunderbolt from Tapu Lele, but you just get rid of the Electric Terrain that could have helped to make that easier.
Yeah. Don't you just wish that terrain will still back up. Tapu Koko now going to switch out. Going to go into Gastrodon here. Going to force, I guess, the Hurricane onto the Celesteela, but instead we have the Celesteela Protect. You know, Kyle not wanting to sacrifice that Celesteela just yet. Tapu Lele, though, goes for a Psychic, hitting that Gastrodon. Oh, nope, almost picks up the one-hit KO. Down to 6 hit points. Going to activate that Moringa Berry. Definitely going to come into play. Pelipper goes for a Scald, and that actually boosts Gastrodon's special attack stat by 1 stage. Thanks, Storm Drain.
Yeah, Tapu Lele electing to use Psychic, try to take advantage of the Tailwind and KO Tapu Koko before it moves. Willing to risk taking that Heavy Slam. Heavy Slam doesn't even come out because
scared of the Thunderbolt.
Kyle was worried about the Thunderbolt plus Scald combination, so worried about it, he switched in Gastrodon to move the Scald over. Instead, this doesn't work out at all, except that Tapu Lele is still backlocked into Psychic. Now Celesteela knows it's safe and can aim the Heavy Slam again. There's no switch out now. If Tapu Lele is stuck here, Psychicing.
Yep, Tapu Lele goes for the Psychic on a Celesteela. That does a good amount of damage. Pelipper now forced to go for a Hurricane. This can confuse and possibly lead to situations where, nope, never mind, no confusion right there. Celesteela goes for the Heavy Slam, hits that Tapu Lele, and Tapu Lele gets one-hit KO'd by that Heavy Slam. And now Gastrodon actually gets to go and
I think this is one of those circumstances where Preston correctly predicted that Celesteela would protect, and so didn't go after it with Thunderbolt. But he needed to get it with Thunderbolt to be able to win this game. Locking himself into Psychic, having no way to pull Celesteela off the field before it Heavy Slams Tapu Lele and leaves him with only a Pelipper is not how you're going to win this game. And so even though he got the prediction right, it put him in an unwinnable situation.
Pelipper did get burned by that, but it's not going to matter. This game is over. And now we're going to Game 3 here in the finals of the Salt Lake City Regional Championships between Preston Clark and Kyle Hudson. Winner of this takes home $1,000 in cash and championship points and pride. Preston trying to defend it for Utah, trying to keep this championship in Utah. Kyle trying to bring it back to SoCal where it already resides with Riley.
So that was a much faster Game 2 than Game 1. If we'd had another very long, protracted Snorlax versus Gastrodon, time would be a real factor going into Game 3. That Game 2 was so fast that I think we're back to a more reasonable amount of time used even after the very long Game 1.
How fast, Len?
So fast.
Just like the way you said it. I don't know, it's like you really emphasize the so fast.
Well, it's such a difference from the first game, right? You had this
Gastrodon
long
versus
recovery
Snorlax.
move, slow damage game, and then suddenly people just throwing out one-hit KOs everywhere, and the game's over in
That's the kind of VGC
turns.
that I'm used to, Len.
That's what I like.
Yeah.
I like my VGC over fast enough to eat lunch without a lunch break.
All right, let's get ready. Game 3, double ducks on one side, Preston's actually opted the past 2 games to not use a Z move. That's a great observation, Len. And Z moves are, it's kind of like showing up to a battle without a Mega. You lose a lot of power, but it's not as bad as
it's not
Mega
nearly as
evolving.
significant as no Mega. It's just another item selection, kind of like a gem used to be or something, that allows you that one extra very powerful move. It's such a more powerful move that it allows you to break open teams a lot of the time, get KOs that really change the flow of the game, and that's why they're so valuable. But if the Pokemon isn't good to start with, you don't need to feel like you have to bring it just because it's your only Z move.
Gyarados and Tapu Koko are the leads that Kyle decides to go with, as Preston going to go stick with Arcanine and Tapu Lele.
Yeah, I think Arcanine and Tapu Lele is a good pairing for him because it threatens so much offense so quickly. We saw how it opened up the game in the last game, even though Arcanine got KO'd in the first turn because the Tapu Lele was also able to get a KO onto Gyarados and start racking up more damage afterwards. This time, though, Tapu Koko is already on the field, and it's the same as the previous game, but can maybe go for a double target into Tapu Lele and prevent that Psychic, make Arcanine be the one to carry the offensive load this game instead of Tapu Lele, see if that's easier to work around.
Yeah, Arcanine, oh man. It's really heavy offense right now on the field. I think this is gonna end exactly like Game 2 did. Arcanine switching out, gonna go into Snorlax. All right, Snorlax is back out on the field. Tapu Koko gonna go for a Volt switch here. Gonna hit that Tapu Lele. Gonna switch out here, and all right. Kyle gets to pick what to send in to counter this Snorlax. but it is risky. Could possibly take a very powerful Psychic from that Tapu Lele as well.
Unless that he knows that Hydro Vortex is about to hit Tapu Lele and pick up the KO, then
no Hydro Vortex coming. Gastrodon sent in.
Oh.
Oh no.
Oh,
Oh no!
The massive misplay here.
Storm Drain's going to draw that away.
When he clicked Hydro Vortex, he had no Storm Drain on the field. He Volt Switches to his Storm Drain and prevents his own KO, wastes his Z move, and then will allow Tapu Lele to get the Psychic off, doing massive damage to either of these Pokemon, or the Thunderbolt.
No, just a Thunderbolt straight into that Gyarados. That should be the KO. Oh no, that is a huge misplay right there from Kyle.
Yeah, what should have been a 4-3 lead for him turns into a 4-3 deficit. Because he brought in Gastrodon there. He's got to be kicking himself for that. Game 3 of the finals. Not the time you want to make that misplay.
Tapu Koko now going to come in, and there's a lot of work to be done since you just pretty much wasted your Z move right there and did not pick up a KO or even do massive amounts of damage to that Snorlax. Tapu Koko should be able to pick up the KO this time on the Tapu Lele since the Electric Train is up, but of course is also threatened by that Snorlax with that high horsepower. Yeah,
it can probably pick up the KO even with Volt Switch, and since we know that Lele is choice specs, it's a pretty safe Volt Switch. Wouldn't be surprised to see that. It was interesting to see the Tapu Lele go for Thunderbolt rather than Psychic that turn, maybe either expecting the Celesteela switch in, and so Thunderbolt would have been the much better option, or recognizing from last game that even though Psychic is generally the better move to be locked into, it would have been better to have Thunderbolt.
Alright. Volt Switch into that Pelipper. Now, gonna get to switch out. I believe it was a Volt Switch. Yep, there was the Volt Switch. Now we're gonna reveal that last Pokemon. Oh boy. I hope Kyle is okay, because that was a costly mistake right there. Celesteela comes in. Alright, well, Celesteela does not mind facing off against Snorlax.
Maybe the burn to make up for game 1?
Nope, no burn right there. Snorlax goes for high horsepower in that Celesteela slot, and that's not going to do anything. Alright, well, Kyle still has the pieces.
Yeah, unfortunately, Pelipper is now the fastest thing on the field, and so there's Tailwind guaranteed. And if Tailwind goes up, that Tapu Lele becomes even more of a monster. The Arcanine that's still in the back becomes even more of a monster.
Pelipper is going to set up a Tailwind. I guess that lets the Snorlax outspeed the Gastrodon. Yeah, alright, well, Celesteela now content to just set up a Leech Seed here as Gastrodon goes for a Scald. It is at one stage of increased special attack, though.
It is.
Hey, you got something going for you.
Yeah, racking up pretty big damage, rain boosted and +1 special attack.
What if that was the play that he wanted all along and it wasn't a misplay? We don't see him, so what if?
I have a hard time believing it's true. Waterfall would have been the safer play if that's what you were after, but...
No, you want to see the dance.
Alright.
Alright, well, we'll see how this plays out. Boy.
Yeah, I think Preston was probably hoping to lose Pelipper that turn. Would have been nice for him to set up the Tailwind and then get the free switch.
Have Tapu Lele come in, yeah.
Kyle realizes better than that, realizes Snorlax is the much bigger threat, and so he's just willing to let a Hurricane happen in exchange for not having Lele staring him down.
That Tailwind might matter on that Snorlax, because now that Snorlax could probably pick up the KO. Celesteela goes for a Flamethrower, gonna hit this Pelipper here. Nope, gonna hit that Snorlax
burns.
In the rain.
We want burns.
No, well, Snorlax is just gonna outspeed and KO the Gastrodon anyways. You want to watch Snorlax burn.
Well, no, I mean, in general, that's what Kyle's after. He's scalding it, he's flamethrowing it. He knows that he needs to get this burnt, start racking up that residual damage, and keeping return from being so much damage and keeping high horsepower from being a one-hit KO on Tapu Koko. He didn't get it between his two scalds and his flamethrower, and so now he's in a very, very precarious position. He needs to get through this last couple turns of Tailwind before the other two Pokemon hit the field.
You don't want Tapu Lele coming back in.
You don't want Tapu Lele coming in now, having its train for good, and having a Tailwind boost behind it. You also need to keep Celesteela healthy enough to not go down to
a Psychic.
To whatever
whatever
Arcanine or Lele does.
Oh yeah, Arcanine's still in the back too.
You know, at this health, it can take the Flare Blitz in rain. If it takes something like a Scald, that's not going to be the case anymore.
It's all about border position right now for Kyle, and
but it's so hard to make this comeback from 2-4 when your opponent's the one with speed control
and terrain control, all sorts of things. Pelipper goes for a Scald on that Celesteela. No burn. Oh, God, never mind. There's the burn. Going to slowly chip away at that Celesteela as Tapu Koko now goes for a Thunderbolt on that Snorlax. It is enough to pick up the KO. And now Celesteela can go for the KO on on the Pelipper. Yep, there's the Heavy Slam.
Yeah, I almost wouldn't want to see that KO come out. Now you're going to be facing both at the same time.
Yeah.
You get two big offensive Pokemon, it would be a lot easier to take them one at a time, because Tapu Koko is really your only answer to either. Tapu Koko's only got one Thunderbolt to use before it goes down, if they're both on the field.
Yeah, and no more Electric Terrain for this Tapu Koko. So this is it. These are going to be the last 2 turns, I believe. Oh boy. Arcanine and Tapu Lele.
Arcanine and Tapu Lele. So what Kyle needs to have happen is Arcanine gets KO'd by Tapu Koko. It's a big ask from full health, and then that allows Celesteela to KO Lele, because Celesteela is never going to KO Arcanine, never going to beat Arcanine one-on-one.
No.
And so if Tapu Koko opts to Thunderbolt Tapu Lele and try to go for that KO, I would expect Arcanine to just Flare Blitz Tapu Koko and maybe Extreme Speed the next turn if it's not choice. I mean, somehow pick up that KO onto Tapu Koko before it can get another attack off, and that would seal the game.
Well, here we go.
But I'm not even sure Crit Thunderbolt is enough.
Tapu Koko now protecting itself. Going to try to stall out this last turn of Tailwind, I believe. Well, Celesteela also decides to protect as well. Yep, just going to stall out the Tailwind as Arcanine goes for a Wild Charge. No Flare Blitz there. And Tapu Lele goes for a Psychic into that Tapu Koko slot. So the rain has now stopped.
Yeah, Wild Charge, the stronger option while it's raining. It doesn't offer the opportunity to hit Tapu Koko nearly as hard. I would expect Thunderbolt is a KO on Tapu Lele based on how much Volt Switch did.
Yep.
The difference in base power should make up for it. If you think that Arcanine's going to keep going after Celesteela, maybe you do just KO Tapu Lele. But the rain is gone. Flare Blitz is an easy KO on Tapu Koko now.
Yep, and Tapu Koko now goes for a Thunderbolt on that Tapu Lele. It is not enough to pick up the KO.
Isn't.
Oh, I think that might be the roll as Arcanine goes for a Wild Charge on that Celesteela, picks up the KO, and it looks like that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
Psychic's
it.
about to
Preston
come in.
Clark is going to take it. Psychic, and if not next turn, just go for another Wild Charge. But Tapu Lele now goes for a Psychic, and that does it for us here in Salt Lake City. Tapu Koko gets knocked out by Tapu Lele's very powerful Psychic, and Preston Clark wins the Salt Lake City Regional Championships, takes home $1,000 and 200 championship points to add to his championship